Congratulations! You've connected with the Pulpit Perspectives Podcast. Join Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy as he connects with pastors where they preach, literally at the pulpit of their church. It's a point of view with purpose and personality that informs and inspires with real-life stories from great preachers you need to know. Your host is Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy. Let's join Kent at a pulpit with a fresh perspective from his guest preacher.
Hello and welcome to Pulpit Perspectives Podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy. Pulpit Perspectives Podcast exists to create connections among clergy of the North District and their churches. I'm standing here at the pulpit at Salem Chapel, United Methodist Church in LaPorte County with their pastor, Pastor Trish Johnsen. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. So how long have you been pastor of Salem Chapel, United Methodist Church?
I have only been here since July. This is a pretty new appointment.
Okay. And you got everything figured out?
Sure. Sure.
Wonderful. Okay. Here at year number 1.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So what brings you joy?
What brings me joy? The joy of community. The joy here at Salem Chapel has been this fantastic group of fun people who love to eat. And they love to feed us. And it's just a joy being part of that kind of community.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have go-to dishes that they like to make and serve?
Well, we have fellowship time every Sunday morning before church. And so you never know what you're going to find. And one Tuesday a month, the table is spread. We have a group called Retreads, and they just spread like every dish you can think of. And they found out that I'm gluten intolerant, and so they always make sure there's things that I can eat. So it's just a joy to be part of such a great community. Retreads. It's a group of retirees.
I love it. Okay. Yep. Well, Salem Chapel, take note where you can get fed
always,
belly and spirit.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
So just go with me for a second.
Okay.
If ministry were a basketball game, okay, just go with me.
Okay.
Who's in the stands cheering you on?
If ministries, who's cheering me on?
Yes. Who's in your cheer block that's in your corner giving you home court advantage for this ministry thing?
My family, definitely. My husband, my son, my mom. My husband he's the camera guy, so he's literally is part of the team every Sunday. And I have a group of pastor friends that I've become really well connected with that I think we're always cheering each other on. So
excellent.
Yeah.
All right. That home court advantage is important.
It is.
We can't do this alone.
No.
Yeah. Encouragers need encouragers.
Yes. So much.
Wonderful. Okay. So where do you go to recharge?
The woods. I'm an outdoor enthusiast. I like to hike. I get out in the trees when I need to recharge. That's my place.
Year round? I mean,
yeah, I'll go out in a couple of the county parks here have good trails even in the winter, and I put on my snow boots. I might not walk as far or as fast, but I get out into the middle of the trees where I need to be.
Okay.
Yep. I even have a favorite spot where I can park if I don't even want to get out of my car.
Right.
Roll down the windows a little and listen to the wind.
Okay.
Yep.
You got winter boots for recharging.
I do.
Okay. I love it. Okay. So when did you know you were called to vocational ministry?
Oh my goodness. To vocational ministry? I've always felt a call to ministry. I started teaching Sunday school when I was 14. And so I've always likened my call to ministry like being on a labyrinth. On a walk on a labyrinth. So I was on the path, but I didn't quite know where it was going. And God just kind of took me around the next corner. But vocational ministry, I insisted I had no call. I was a lay person. I had no call to being a pastor until I became involved in Fresh Expressions. and I started serving on the Fresh Expression steering team. And we had a messy church at my previous church that's still running. And I just became convinced that if I was going to serve new kinds of congregations, new kinds of churches, that I wanted to be able to serve them entirely. I wanted to be able to offer the sacraments and really be their pastor. Mm-hmm. And so that's where that call came about 4 years ago. So,
okay, wonderful. Now you mentioned Fresh Expressions.
Yes.
If memory serves, you have a special role in the United Methodist Conference here in Indiana. Say a word about that.
I'm an associate director of church development. That's the other half of my job. And my kind of corner of church development is helping other churches establish new kinds of faith communities or fresh expressions. And my role has recently been expanded to include working with small membership churches, particularly rural churches, mm-hmm. which is kind of what we're standing in the middle of right now.
Yes. Okay. So any church in any part of the state could reach out to you if they wanted to learn more about Fresh Expressions.
You got it.
Especially
yes.
rural churches.
Yes.
Okay.
You got it.
Awesome. Good to know. So what's your go-to Bible verse?
Oh, it's hard to pick just one. The 121st Psalm. Psalm 121, I lift my eyes up to the hills. Where does my strength come from? My favorite place, like my happy place, is in the mountains, but that's kind of hard to get to quickly from Indiana. So I settle for the woods, for trees. But somebody gave me some really great advice years ago, that when life seems overwhelming or you're really troubled about something, to go outside and look up. And it works for me. I lift up my eyes. Where does my hope come from?
Wow. What I get in touch with, the word that comes to mind is perspective.
Yes.
You walk outside and say, who am I?
Yes.
That you would take notice of me, creator of the cosmos, and yet call me, right, to serve.
Right.
And, wow.
It's even better if you can stand under a tree and look up through the branches of the tree. There's something just very, very sacred. Any
particular type of tree?
Well, I have the biggest maple tree I've ever seen in my life in my front yard, and so that's my go-to. It's just this giant maple tree because its size is overwhelming, and looking up through it is just. And in the afternoons, the sun comes through it, so it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Wonderful. Okay, well, pretend with me you're going to go axe throwing. Unless you've already been. Have you been?
Never been.
Okay,
no, never been.
Well, just pretend. Use your imagination. You're going axe throwing. Who from the Bible are you bringing with you and why?
Axe throwing? I feel like the obvious answer is David, right? But that almost feels too on the nose. I think Peter. Feels like Peter might just be just enough unhinged to be really good at it.
Okay. All right.
Plus, we know he was, good with a sword. And probably had decent aim. So I'm going to go with Peter. Plus, just a chance to hang out with Peter and ask him some questions and get to know him seems like.
Yeah. What would you ask him? What are you curious about when it comes to the rock?
What would I ask Peter? How did he feel about what he got himself into? Like, did he know what he was getting himself into when he signed on with Jesus? And then how did he feel about that?
Yeah. and certainly at different points, that's a different answer.
Right.
Coming to Jesus on the water, that's probably one answer. Getting called Satan is probably another answer. Right.
If you could talk to him towards the end there and kind of get him to reflect on that, that would be amazing.
Ooh, like post-resurrection.
Yes.
Feed my sheep. Wow, that's almost a sermon series.
That'll preach.
Yeah. Peter, getting inside Peter's head.
Yes.
And all those different, because there's so many. Yeah, there's so many to begin with, and so many diverse. Different.
His story just jumps all over the place.
Right.
It'd be,
And certainly the folk in the pew could be able to grab on, if not every week, at least.
Yeah.
At some point during the sermon series, like, I recognize myself in that.
So maybe axe throwing is just a good excuse to spend some time with Peter, but
and get him to help you write sermons.
Right. Can always use that help.
Don't we all? Yes. All right. Well, what lesson have you had to learn the hard way?
Oh, that I can't do everything. I'm a task-oriented, list-making. I'm gonna get this all done myself, and sometimes you learn the hard way that you can't. You need some help, and you need some rest. I'm still not good at that lesson.
If Sabbath keeping was only a commandment,
I know.
I
know.
It's like, we caregivers are so. Why? I'm right there with you.
Yep.
It's like, I know I have the Sabbath time listed on my calendar for me, but the phone rings or the email gets sent or somebody ends up in the hospital.
Yeah. I'm still learning that one.
So what do you need to help in that learning process, you think?
I think it's just a shift of mindset, because it's not that I don't have the support. It's not that it's just an internal, it's a me thing that I'm working on.
Well, keep at it. and remember that a no can be a yes.
Oh, I like that.
That I need to say no over here because I need to say yes over here. Yes to Sabbath keeping. Yes to whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I'm preaching to the choir and preaching to myself. So yeah, man, absolutely. So what is an ordinary place that's extraordinary to you because of what's happened to you there?
An ordinary place that's extraordinary to me. The first thing that comes to mind is my home. I mean, it's an ordinary place, but it's where I find rest. It's where I spend time with my family. It's where I can be myself. And so I don't know that anything extraordinary happens there, but just living life in my home, hanging out with cuddling with I have 3 animals, so I'm never alone. But I guess that's the only thing that comes to mind is my home.
Yeah. So
my yard.
Yeah, on the outside, and I'm using air quotes, another structure of lumber and siding and concrete and plumbing, right? But to you, though, the presence of the Lord is in that place.
Absolutely.
So it is no ordinary home.
It is no ordinary home. And it's special to me because we've moved. My husband's previous employer transferred us, and we've moved 14 times in our marriage. And this is our forever house.
Okay.
And I told our realtor when we bought this one, I wasn't leaving until somebody took me out on a slab. So this one, we've been able to, because we've rehabbed a lot of houses, and it's this one we get to do things we want to it because it's ours. It's not a flip or a resell so it's really home.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. What a gift.
Yes.
Wonderful. So when you think about your fellow clergy, whether somewhat at a distance as a group or maybe individual ones you can think of and name, what do you hope they know?
I hope they know how important the work is that they're doing. And I hope they know that we have each other to help get it done. If that made sense.
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
I greatly value the connection of fellow clergy. So I think that's really important.
It is. Wonderful. I hope they know that.
Me too.
And I hope you have opportunities to remind them of that yourself.
Yes.
Beyond this podcast. So absolutely. Well, last question, and I appreciate your time.
Yes.
So when you think of your legacy here at Salem Chapel, United Methodist Church, however long you're here, whatever, just whatever that tenure looks like, you're going to walk out the door for the last time at some point, right? For whatever reason. So in 3 words, what legacy are you leaving Salem Chapel?
3 words. Be the church. Be the church. Inside the walls, outside the walls. This is a very mission-minded church. We've just started breakthrough prayer. And And they're very excited about those possibilities. And so we're talking a lot about being the church in the world. And so that's 3 words, right? Be the church.
I like it. Be the church. I like it.
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, Pastor Trish Johnsen, pastor of Salem Chapel, United Methodist Church, for being a guest on Pulpit Perspectives Podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Well, thank you. Pulpit Perspectives Podcast exists to create connections among North District clergy and their churches. If you want to learn more about all the great things God is doing in the midst of the North District, I invite you to find the North District Facebook page. You can also learn more about the Indiana Conference at inumc.org. inumc.org. Among other things, you can find out about the Fresh Expressions training and opportunities and support and all that goodness that Trish talked about earlier. So that's there. Check that out on the website as well. Well, I'm your host for Pulpit Perspectives Podcast, Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy, signing off for now.
There you have it. A fresh perspective from the pulpit with a great preacher. You know you want to hear more. You can do just that by connecting with Pulpit Perspectives with Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy on Apple Podcast and Spotify, where you can like and follow the podcast. What's more, you can spread the good news about Pulpit Perspectives in your church and with your neighbors. Plan now on joining Kent at the pulpit, where you'll meet another great preacher on Pulpit Perspectives.